This is an educational video about interesting or rare mathematical problems or recreational fun math puzzle such as Sudoku, Kaharu, Tower Panoy, Snakes and Ladders, and Monopoly. First is Sudoku. Sudoku is a puzzle in which players insert the numbers 1 to 9 into a grid consisting of 9 squares subdivided into a further 9 smaller squares in such a way that every number appears once in each horizontal line, vertical line, and square. Sudoku rule number 1. Use numbers 1 to 9. Sudoku rule number 2. Don't repeat any numbers. As you can see in the upper left square, circled in blue, this square already has 7 out of the 9 spaces filled in. The only numbers missing from the square are 5 and 6. By seeing which numbers are missing from each square, row or column, we can use process of elimination and deductive reasoning to decide which numbers need to go in each blank space. For example, in the upper left square, we know we need to add a 5 and a 6 to be able to complete the square, but based on the neighboring rows and squares, we cannot clearly deduce which number to add in which space. This means that we should ignore the upper left square for now and try to fill in spaces in some other areas of the grid instead. Sudoku rule number 3. Don't guess. Sudoku is a game of logic and reasoning, so you should have to guess. If you don't know what number to put in a certain space, keep scanning the other areas of the grid until you see an opportunity to place a number. But don't try to force anything. Sudoku rewards patience, insights, and recognition of patterns, not blind luck or guessing. Sudoku rule number 4. Use process of elimination. What do we mean by using process of elimination to play Sudoku? Here is an example. In this Sudoku grid, the far left-hand vertical column is missing only a few numbers, 1, 5, and 6. One way to figure out which numbers can go in each space is to use process of elimination by checking to see which other numbers are already included with each square. Since there can be no duplication of numbers 1 to 9 within each square or row or column. In this case, we can quickly notice that there are already number 1 ones in the top left and center left squares of the grid. This means that there is only one space remaining in the far left column where a 1 could possibly go. This is how the process of elimination works in Sudoku. You find out which spaces are available, which numbers are missing, and then deduce, based on the position of the numbers within the grid, which numbers fit into each space. Kakaru or Kakuro or Kakoro is a kind of logic puzzle that is often referred to as a mathematical transliteration of the crossword. Kakuro rules. Kakuro are easy to learn yet highly addictive language-independent logic puzzles now following the footsteps of the worldwide Sudoku success, requiring just pure logic and simple add-subtraction calculations. These numerical crossword puzzles will carry you into a fascinating world of number combinations you never imagined could exist. Classic Kakuro. Each puzzle consists of a blank grid with some clues in various places. The object is to fill all empty squares using numbers 1 to 9, so the sum of each horizontal block equals the clue on its left, and the sum of each vertical block equals the clue on its top. In addition, no number may be used in the same block more than once. Holy Kakuro, Round Kakuro, Multi Kakuro, Diamond Kakuro, and Heart Kakuro. Each puzzle consists of a blank grid with some clues in various places. The object is to fill all empty squares using numbers 1 to 9, so the sum of each horizontal block equals the clue on its left, and the sum of each vertical block equals the clue on its top. In addition, no number may be used in the same block more than once. Kakuro Magic Blocks. The secret to solving Kakuro puzzles is learning how to use magic blocks, those special situations where only a single combination of numbers can fit into a block of a given length. For example, if 6 is the sum clue of a block of 3 squares, then the block must consist of the numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3, but not necessarily in this order. When spotting a magic block, the magic block's tables can be helpful to identify which unique numbers must be used in that block. The only thing left is to find out which order the numbers should be organized. Tower of Hanoi. Before getting started, let's talk about what the Tower of Hanoi problem is. Well, this is a fun puzzle game where the objective is to move an entire stack of discs from the source position to another position. 3 simple rules are followed. Number 1. Only one disc can be moved at a time. Number 2. Each move consists of taking the upper disc from one of the stacks and placing it on the top of another stack. In other words, a disc can only be moved if it's the uppermost disc on a stack. Number 3. No larger disc may be placed on top of a smaller disc. Snakes and Ladders. A worldwide classic board game. Navigator please from start to finish, avoid the snakes, and take shortcuts going up the ladders. The origins of this game are found in ancient India where it was known as Moksha Patamo. A player moving up the board represented life's spiritual journey, complicated by virtues, the ladders, and vices, the snakes. Here are the equipments to play the game: snakes and ladders, board, 1 die, and playing pieces. Setup. Before the game can start, each player will roll 1 die. The player who throws the highest number will be the one to have the first turn. Gameplay. The players will move their pieces from left to right, starting at 1. Following the numbers on the board, then the next row from right to left and repeat. If a player rolls a 4, then the player will move their piece 4 places. Snakes. When the player lands on the top of a snake, their playing piece will slide down to the bottom of the snake. Whereas, landing on the bottom of a snake, the player will remain in the same spot until their next turn. Ladders. When a player lands at the base of a ladder, it immediately climbs to the top of the ladder. Whereas, landing at the top of a ladder, the player will stay there until the next turn. The player does not move to the bottom of the ladder. Winning the game. The first player that reaches the highest space on the board 100 wins the game. To win, the player will need to roll the exact number to get you to the last space. If the player rolls a higher number that needed to land exactly on 100, their piece does not move and remains there until their next turn, when they can roll again. The bounce back variation. If the roll is too high, the player's piece will bounce off the last space and move back. For example, if a player had 4 spaces to get to 100 and rolled a 6, the piece will move 4 spaces to 100, then bounce back 2 spaces to 98. Monopoly. Monopoly is a real estate board game for 2 to 8 players. The player's goal is to remain financially solvent while forcing opponents into bankruptcy by buying and developing pieces of property. Components. A board, 2 dice, tokens for each player, 32 houses and 12 hotels, 16 chance and 16 community chess cards, 28 title deed cards for each property, and money. Setup. Number 1. Place the board on a table. Number 2. The chance and community chess cards face down on their allotted spaces on the board. Number 3. Each player chooses 1 token to represent them while traveling around the board. Number 4. Each player is given $1,500 divided as follows. Bank. Select someone as banker. If this person also plays, then he must keep his personal funds separated from those of the bank. The bank holds. The bank pays salaries and bonuses. The bank collects all taxes, fines, loans, and interest, and the price of all properties which it sells and auctions. The bank can grow broken. If the bank runs out of money, the banker may issue as much as needed by writing on any ordinary paper. Object of the game. Become the wealthiest player through buying, renting, and selling of property and force other players into bankruptcy. Gameplay. Starting with the banker, each player throws the dice. The player with the highest total starts to play. Then each player places his token on the corner marked Go, and throw the dice and move the number of spaces indicated by the dice. The tokens remain on the spaces occupied and proceed from that point on the player's next turn. 2 or more tokens may rest on the same space at the same time. If one or both dice roll off the board or land on or lean against a card deck, the roll is invalid. Roll them again. Depending on the space the token reaches, you may buy the property or oblique to pay rent, pay taxes, draw a chance or community chest card, go to jail, or etc. If you throw doubles, you move your token and are subject to any privileges or penalties pertaining to the space on which you land. Then you can throw again and move your token as before. But watch out, if you ever throw doubles 3 times in succession, you have to go immediately to jail. So that's it. Thank you for staying and listening. Goodbye.